Very good morning. Good morning to all of you here in the room, and equally importantly, good day to all of you who will be watching this on the replay from Friday, I believe it is. I know we are now on day 3, sort of halfway through Reinvent, and there's been a lot of interesting announcements. And I know we've already had a number of sessions on Telco, and we will have more sessions on Telco today and tomorrow, and I'll be pointing out to all of that. I will also be showing you how much Telco content and demos you will be able to see later. And it actually is not very far from here. I think it's just out here to the right. You'll be able to see some fantastic demos. So what we want to do during this hour is share with you the journey where we've been in the last 12 months, what we said we were going to do 12 months ago in the telco sector, what the priorities were going to be, and we're going to fast forward to where we are today, but we're going to be looking at this through the eyes of customers. Customers, telcos, who have been working with us for the last 12 months plus on delivering on these 4 strategic pillars that we presented last year. When we talk to you, we are on the AWS Telco team working with our partners, going to work on simplifying operations, clarifying networks, improving that whole customer satisfaction journey, and ultimately engaging with telcos to find new avenues to grow revenue. That was the mission statement. That was the strategy we laid out in a stage like this about 12 months ago, wearing masks. It sort of shows you how far we've come. And really pleased to report that this year is all about reality. We needed to have a vision, we needed to have a plan, we needed to have a journey where we were going to engage with our services teams, with our ecosystem of partners, on behalf of our customers to innovate in these areas. And it's really pleased to talk about some of these great things that have happened. You will be hearing from some of the customers through videos. Some of them are in the audience, so you'll be able to talk to them afterwards. Because there's been way too many good stories to pack them all in an hour. Whether he's looking at the Dish very rapid network build out to achieve 20% coverage of the US in 14 months, or whether he's looking at how to apply the concept of a 5G network to manage and meter and count kettle in Australia, or whether he's looking at building a 5G core on the cloud in Korea with LGU+, to have a backup network, a fallback network, or whether he's looking at the work that Vodafone is doing. There's just way too many things that we could talk about. Now, you would say, why is so much happened in about a year? There are no silver bullets, but there are some common themes, some common trends that we're seeing in the market that seem to apply pretty much everywhere. These are the sort of 6 trends that we're trying to write, 6 trends that we're working with our partners on, and the 6 trends that we see our customers, the telecommunications companies around the world working on. So we're going to be talking about each of them one after the other, and you're going to hear from customers who are embarked on that journey, whether it's the transformation from telco to techco, all the way down to looking at sustainability and all the things that can be done there. So let's just take them in turn. The transformation from telco to techco is not a hobby. It is a response to looking for new areas of revenue, to looking to deliver faster services, looking to re-engineer value-add services and be able to get them to market quicker. It's about trying to respond to the requirements of end users in the B2C space or the B2B space of getting more and better services coming from the telcos. And they are more than just communications. These are new capabilities that most telcos didn't have in-house. So they're having to transform themselves to be able to deliver that. And we are seeing that whether it's by building, acquiring capabilities like a system integrator in-house, or training a lot of people, or just going into massive talent acquisition, particularly in the on the cloud area. This is something that is happening everywhere. There was a very interesting study that said that most telcos see themselves selling the majority and getting the biggest growth from selling to enterprises. But if you asked enterprises, they would tell you that the stuff that they needed to buy is not the stuff that telco sells. But then when you ask the enterprises, would you buy from a telco if that telco partners with a hyperscaler, where they partner and build really innovative solutions, and they really bundle this together, communication and innovation on the cloud, would you buy from them? And more than half of the enterprises said, yes, we would. That's the journey that we're seeing. So there are a lot of ingredients required to make that transformation. It's not going to happen by osmosis, and it's not going to happen unless you have a really aggressive top-down mandate. And think about top-down mandates. I think about the case of Vodacom in South Africa that said to the team, it doesn't matter what happens. We are going to migrate 1,500 applications onto the cloud. That's it. Aggressive KPIs, top-down mandate. You need to have vision from the top. You need to have that transformational, inspirational vision from the C-suite. And I think of cases like Swisscom, where Swisscom decided they were going to go all in on the cloud. They were fully going to transform how they ran their IT. They were going to fully transform and build a 5G network with Ericsson on the AWS cloud. And they were going to transform the B2B engine to deliver more cloud-centric solutions. That's a big, bold strategic statement. It is also about thinking big and build this unique perspective on each of our customers. For the very first time, it is possible to capture pretty much every single attribute about every subscriber. And I can think of the great work that Globe Telecom is doing with us over in the Philippines, where they are capturing, in pretty much real time, hundreds of attributes of every consumer. And then they're able to personalize the experience, the services, the engagement to pretty much every single subscriber. It is also about having that insurgent mentality. This is not about, okay, instead of doing waterfall like we did before on premise, now we're going to do waterfall on the cloud. No. This is not about 6 months testing and then deploying and then testing again. This is about operating in real time. This is about really challenging how things are done. And a great example is Dish, how they've really gone and transformed, and they've gone into a totally cloud-centric CI/CD mentality that really challenges the traditional operating culture of a telco. And it's all about removing differentiated work through automation. And we can do automation at the infrastructure level. We can do automation at the solution level. And ultimately, what we want to get to as an industry is getting automation at the business outcome level. But it's also about recognizing that most telcos do not have the teams, the expertise, and the experience on board, and that we need to work together to train, to attract, and to develop this sort of talent, this cloud-centric talent, these insurgents, these developers, these people who are happy to just innovate, launch, improve, innovate, launch, and improve. And then how do we do that together? Because that's a big, big gap. And there are a lot of examples, but I'm going to be sharing a couple of them with you today. So the first one is the Vodafone story. And they had a session, I believe it was on Monday, that they did with Accenture. If you didn't get a chance to go, again, when all of the sessions come live, go and see it. It's a fantastic experience on how they have managed to build a consistent experience and how they managed to integrate different groups that were working on the cloud and attempting to work on the cloud, how they've really been able to orchestrate all of this. And ultimately, because everything is about outcomes, they've been able to do things in a much faster way than they talk about. Fantastic story on how they're able now to process the launch of iPhones and how much easier it has become, and how they work with Accenture to go and deliver that. Again, that was I believe it was a Monday afternoon. Another example is Telenet. Telenet has been one of the most aggressive telcos in terms of moving to a very data-centric mentality. Not just moving to start looking at data, but really trying to tilt the whole model over. And this is a project that we started just over a year ago with them, to go and start building this single pane of glass view on all the data, migrating from very different legacy systems to some of the AWS platforms and some of the AWS partner platforms like Snowflake. And again, they have a session, I believe it's on Thursday. They're going to be talking about it, and I really would encourage you to go on and really get all the details behind that. So the second trend is about moving and bringing the cloud closer to the user, closer to the enterprise, or closer to where it needs to be. So if you look at the continuum that we've been building, we started by deploying the vast majority of all of our services on the regions. So there you pretty much have, in all the regions we're deploying around the world, and we continue to build around the world, the vast collection of services around obviously compute and databases and storage and AI and ML and all of these great things that you heard Adam talk about yesterday on the keynote. And then that sort of serves the vast majority of the use cases. There are, however, some use cases that required a different approach, whether it's for data residency reasons, whether it's because of privacy reasons, because of latency reasons, or just distance to a particular region. You need to go and work on the edge. And we will be able to work on whether it's the outpost systems, whether it's the local zones, or whether even if it is in the telecom area through wavelengths. And then if you needed to go farther out, you need to go farther out into devices, cameras, IoT in general. We have built all of that into this continuum. This continuum is very important for every customer, for every vertical, but it's particularly important in telecommunications. And it's going to be particularly relevant as we start applying 5G into different industries like manufacturing, robotics, entertainment, campuses, and really take advantage of that. We're going to see that using some more of that capability on the right will definitely be there. You can think of deploying some of our ruggedized systems like the Snow family out on remote, disconnected oil fields, for example, or in boats and ships around the world. And the beautiful thing about this continuum is that it works on the same set of tools. It uses the same set of interfaces. And if you're a developer, you can actually choose where you're going to run your workload and how you're going to work, but you're going to be working on a common, very common platform that goes all the way to the IoT devices. Now, if you want to go and see how you could do this, there is a very real case. Stephen is with us in the audience, but we've recorded him, and he's going to tell us of how you manage to deploy a very difficult blueprint across multiple islands in the Caribbean, using different things like a region in Miami, using Outpost, and how do you manage to create an infrastructure and a set of services that work going from the regions all the way to the different points of presence in the island. So I'm going to just play this video and then we'll comment on it.
Liberty Latin America's growth strategy is both organic and inorganic. We are extending our world-class services and products through regional expansion and into high-growth markets through mergers and acquisitions, and we're committed to technological innovation. As a result of acquisitions, we've inherited many on-premise legacy platforms. We have over 10 types of monolithic systems running on many instances that are hosted in multiple data centers. Maintaining these platforms and applications requires a diverse set of skills. We set off to modernize our ecosystem and define a new architecture. We've taken a modern cloud-focused approach to rationalizing our legacy platforms and have developed a multi-tenant flexible architecture to serve our regional operations and acquisitions. As part of our new architecture, we have evaluated and selected vendors whose applications were SaaS-based or could be hosted on the cloud. Cloud-first approach enables our transformation program a quicker start. We were able to establish infrastructure environments rapidly to enable our development and test teams, then to scale up to production capacity. Our architecture needed to meet critical requirements for specific applications requiring low latency. These applications must be located close to the switching network to ensure low latency in the connection. As we evaluated our cloud provider options, we found that Amazon could meet this requirement with AWS Outpost. This hybrid approach of using AWS with the Outpost enabled us to have seamless infrastructure between our development, test, and production environments. In our application selection process, we found that many of our selected vendors were either hosting their application on AWS and providing it as a service, or their application could run natively on AWS. Because our data lake is on AWS, we have been able to easily implement data integration between the lake and the hosted applications. For example, we have integrated 2 applications via a data stream using MSK, then further integrated it with the data lake. AWS provides a large suite of applications and development tools that we have utilized to develop a data migration framework that manages the movement of our acquired subscribers to our operations. We've set up monitoring with CloudWatch to oversee all of our AWS hosted applications. Our cloud-first approach for customer care and billing platform will enable us to better serve our customers.
Thank you, Stephen. I know you are here. I just don't know where you are. Just sat there. So if you want to, pick his brain, experience, the good, the bad, and the ugly is there. Really, really well done. Thank you for sharing that really good experience. The third trend that we talked about is moving from what we call from one-off to as a service. I'd like to believe that after 11 reinvents and 15 years doing a lot of very interesting stuff on the cloud, we probably don't have to argue that point very much. However, in telecom, hasn't been something that's been going on for that long. So it's probably just worth spending a little bit of time on that. For the past 15 years, we've been working with you and pretty much every company in every sector and trying to deploy a model and an architecture where you could get the benefits of flexibility, fast-paced innovation, pay as you go, that sort of scalability up and scalability down, integrating all these services. And we've been doing that very successfully across a variety of industry verticals. And recently, we also started doing that for the IT workloads in the telco world. So most of the telcos today would say that they've been using some of these very same capabilities inside their traditional IT systems, whether it's their ERP systems and some of the data warehouses or some of the analytics platform, some of the rehosting, some of the modernization of virtualized infrastructures. That's sort of normal now. What my team is doing, working with the services teams in Amazon as well, is trying to figure out how do we go and take those learnings and those benefits that we've created above the line, and we can apply it to the network infrastructure. How do we bring those set of capabilities, of course, to 5G? The 5G standard lends itself really, really well to go and separate the physical and the logical and virtualization and getting virtual network functions, but also to the wider set of domains inside the telecom on fixed broadband infrastructure, whether it's cable, whether it's some of the backbones and some of the work we're doing with Cloud One to provide interconnect to enterprises and telcos using the AWS connectivity, and also in areas like private networks, where traditionally we've had legacy solutions for private networks that could now be overhauled. And how do we map all of the things the benefits that are possible in the IT world to be available and successful in the network domain? There is an example that I'd like to share with you. It's normally a space that BSS, it's a space that has started moving very quickly. And we've done hundreds of BSS on AWS cloud projects. with multiple vendors like Amdocs and Ericsson and Netcracker and others. So we wanted to share one of the ones we've done most recently with a customer over in Europe. So Ari's going to take us through that video.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Ari Banerjee, and I am the Senior VP of Strategy for Netcracker Technology. Netcracker and AWS has been a strategic partner of each other for some time now. As an industry leader in building an OSS operation and orchestration, Netcracker's focus has been always to adopt cloud-native architecture and enable a cloud transformation strategy for its customers. Our collaboration with AWS can be summed as coming together of two industry heavyweights to transform the industry by allowing common customers to use cloud infrastructure without compromising on quality as well as on performance. Obviously, the success of our partnership depends on success of our customers, and we take very strict measures to make sure that it happens. Some of the key pillars that we focus on is helping operators accelerate their digital innovation, helping them adopt a CI/CD strategy, rapid development through agile DevOps, helping them adopt a SaaS-based evergreen kind of an approach. Obviously, providing the highest performance becomes essential for some of these transformation projects. Providing elastic infrastructure, providing a highly available and a carrier-grade secure infrastructure becomes important. That's something that we have together with rigorous testing achieved, try to achieve that and help our customers with. And third pillar really is around helping them or helping our customers lower the total cost of ownership by helping them with the deployment strategy, which goes into a hybrid cloud deployment mode, helping them with tools and operation processes and tools that will help them to evolve and adopt a cloud native kind of a transformation architecture and evolve them towards it. There are a number of common projects that we are working together, but I want to focus on one particular one, which I think is very, very interesting. This is a group-wide SaaS-based solution and the multi-country deployment of the solution of Netcracker on AWS, and we are doing that commonly for the Altis group. The deployment of Netcracker BSS as a service is across the different countries or affiliates of the Altis group, which is around Portugal, France, Israel, US, and the Dominican Republic. This is the group-wide transformation program, which will help the operator seamlessly migrate, integrate, and operate the solution across its subsidiaries around the world. The new revenue management solution will reduce cost, increase billing accuracy, shorten time to market, and improve order to cash for new services. As I mentioned before, Altis is just one of the many projects that Netcracker is working with AWS. We look forward to many such successful transformation programs with AWS in the future. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Ari. That's good, inspiring. But I know some of you would be saying, yeah, but that was BSS, right? What about the core? What can we do in the core? What's out there that we could see as a cloud-native core solutions? Where are those insurgents? Those ISVs that have a vision to create something that is unique, that is different. And I'm really pleased to introduce here to Erlend, who's going to talk about what Working Group 2 is doing in terms of providing a cloud-native 5G core experience that is already being used in operators around the world.
Working Group 2 is a company that makes mobile core as simple as cloud. And driving that simplicity, we also drive innovation. We're helping operators join the cloud era and the software era by redefining how mobile cores are built, operated, and innovated in. We have a deep and long-standing partnership with AWS going back some 6 years. We built the mobile core natively on AWS. One of the principal differences between how we build an operators and many other players is that in our case, we switched the logic around, which means it's more like adding radio networks to a mobile core platform as opposed to deploying a mobile core for a radio network. And that changes a lot of both commercial innovation and operational dynamics, and it gives enormous benefits to operators. We leverage AWS's managed services, things like Kafka databases, managed queues, and a number of other services that allows us enormous efficiency and resiliency. Furthermore, we leverage AWS's security practices and security services, which we think are unrivaled. Telco has had a history of doing things in every single country slightly differently. What's now happening is that this global infrastructure allows you to start deploying global cores. We're now launching with one of the biggest MVNEs in Scandinavia, and we signed with the CKH IOD, which is part of the Hutchinson Group, and we're implementing them as we speak. They're also driving simplicity and innovation for their business units in Europe. We believe the future of telco is actually leveraging mobile cores globally in a consistent way, which will radically enhance the innovation capacity and the efficiency of the telco industry and allows you to start doing micro-innovation at scale, also in between the Gs that come along every decade.
Very inspiring to see not only the innovation happening on BSS, a more traditional IT-type workload within the telcos, but now moving onto the core, and as you saw yesterday, some announcements I will meet with JMA Wireless to also moving it out to new areas like the RAN. However, I can't really go that much deeper because we've got a lot of stuff to cover, but now I'm going to move from vanilla to telco specific. What do I mean by that? So I think if you listen to what Adam just been recently saying, we have to continue to work and provide the best point services that we can in areas like compute, in AI and machine learning, providing the right instances, the right processors. We have to build the best data possible services, the right frameworks in ML, the right set of tools around databases and migrations and things like that. But at the same time, we have to be able to start crafting solutions that appeal directly not to a builder, but to a buyer who's trying to solve a business problem. And whether you're talking about how do you solve an issue for NASDAQ in financial services, and that was referenced yesterday and on stage last year, or you're working with someone like BMW to trying to solve some of their automotive needs, or you're trying to work with some healthcare companies or some telco companies, we are trying to sort of give you the best point services that you could buy for your builders, but also start building some solutions that are meaningful for what you're trying to solve. In the telco case, one of the first ones we brought out was wavelength, the integration of our instances into the operator network. You will have seen a number of additional announcements like telco data lakes and some of these models. You saw yesterday something that it's cross-industry, but you're going to see it's going to play a lot in the telco industry, which is the clean rooms. There's going to be a lot of opportunity there for telcos. And you'll be seeing a number of more announcements coming between now and Mobile World Congress to sort of show us that we are both building the capabilities at the services level, but also starting to build particular solutions that go and address some vertical needs. So we are trying to build what we call a cloud adoption journey model, where we say, okay, what are you trying to do that is telco specific? And what is the best point to solve that within the set of services and platforms that we offer on AWS? So you can sort of see, like going from left to right, that there are a number of applications like OSS where you actually, it's relatively easy to start deploying them in a centralized manner. You don't really have to re-architect anything on the cloud. There is a low requirement on latency, and it's not super complicated to start with. And you can see that sort of moving down to the right in terms of complexity, sensitivity to latency, and then also they need to start working on a fully distributed manner. right? It could go all the way out to have Kubernetes solutions right at the end. It definitely will have wavelength, some of the solutions. Some of them will have outposts, how we're going to be distributing the RAN and the core. And we are seeing that adoption journey. And as you can see, we're working with OSS and BSS vendors, and I said we got hundreds of live references there. We are already working on IMS and cores, and we got tens of projects around the world. We're just launching some new RAN solutions. So expect to see AWS continuing to build the best point services, but also across critical industries like telco, start building a portfolio of capabilities and partnerships. Very important, because we're not building the components ourselves. We're building enabling platforms so that our partners can augment the value proposition so the telcos can take advantage of that. A very good example of that ecosystem or telco-specific solutions would be private networks. It doesn't matter how you build them. But you could do it centralized. You can have the core in one place, core in the other place. You can have one vendor. You can have another vendor. But the reality is there is a really big opportunity out there today in the telco industry with private networks. IDC quotes a number of $8.3 billion for 2026. That's a big opportunity. And the reality is that most of the enterprises out there, they are capturing, processing, storing, and trying to learn from data on their operational facilities more than ever before. And before was maybe some static data. Now you've got pretty much IoT devices, cameras, and you've got a lot of video. So the old ways of building those solutions in the enterprise don't work. You could do back in the old days, you might remember it, some of them that were sort of fixed line, which they're great, they give you a great solution, but they're not flexible. You cannot move them, they're complex to upgrade. You can't really move them about. And they were quite expensive. And then you could have Wi-Fi, and Wi-Fi gave you some solutions, but it didn't have security, it doesn't have a quality of service. So, but if you take 4G and 5G private network solutions, you can actually have the security, the quality of service, the bandwidth, and everything. And that's something that is very natural space to telcos. And it's an area where we want to team with telcos and with partners to take to market. One of the most successful partners that we've had in the market in the US, Federated Wireless, is here. Iyad is somewhere here. There we go, Iyad. But he was kind enough to record a video for us, telling us about a very recent and very interesting win that we've done in the space. So let's play this little video.
Hello, I'm Iyad Tarazi, the CEO of Federated Wireless. We're a software company creating a new private 5G reality. We started our business transforming the spectrum model, bringing to market significant capacity with 5G innovation. We have turned scarcity into spectrum abundance. Our customers today include large carriers, cable companies, enterprises, and solution providers. Our ecosystem for CBRS is one of the largest collection of devices, equipment makers, and users in the world. When we started our journey with AWS, we went all in the AWS cloud and all the technologies that come with it. What a great partnership it's been. It allowed us to create scale, move at high speed, create disruptive innovation, and specifically for private wireless solutions, we've been able to drive 5G connectivity to the next level. 5G will change your business, absolutely. We've seen it over and over. We're making the 5G transformation by focusing on actual use cases, robotics, video analytics, massive IoT, public-private roaming, and a few others. We're making it happen by drastically simplifying the process of deployment for these solutions. Some people call us the easy button for 5G, and it's right on. We've made our solutions easy to order. You can have them over the AWS Marketplace. They're deployed rapidly and painlessly. And then we would focus them and design them to your specific use cases. Our offerings are fully integrated with the AWS Edge family of devices. Our customers run IoT and applications with the full suite of AWS developer services. Basically, if you use our solution, you can use everything you can buy from AWS Cloud Solutions, and it will be seamless for you. We're really honored to partner with AWS on the 5G private deployments. They've asked me to share a few of what we've done, and let me give you some examples. We've deployed a large 500,000 square feet plus warehouse automation project for the US Marine Corps, indoor and outdoor, and we continue to innovate there. We've deployed a smart real estate innovative network with JBG Smith, one of the largest developers in the Washington market, and they're bringing massive scale to National Landing. We've also announced the work that we're doing with AWS and Cal Poly to drive 5G Smart Campus. Let me tell you some examples of what that would look like with that Smart Campus solutions. We're incubating new edge and cloud technologies in their innovation hub, working with AWS. We're deploying safety and security systems to protect students and faculty. We're working together to develop next generation smart building and construction and agricultural technologies. We're also fixing coverage holes in the campus while we're at it. These are just a few of the deployments we've done in 22. We're going to do a lot more in 23 and hope to see you with us in this journey with AWS. Thank you all, and I hope you enjoyed the show.
Thanks, Ian. Again, he's there. He's got a ton of experience and very, very big ambition to do this with all of you in North America and in other parts of the world. So delighted to have the opportunity to do that. And I think this is a really good segue into the other area of generating additional revenue opportunities. How can we do some joint go-to-market? What does moving to the cloud enable operators to do from a monetization perspective? And one of my favorite one-pagers is this one. It's one that says, when you start bringing the telecommunications, the different layers of telecommunications and the cloud apply to every one of these layers, you start seeing some significant benefits, right? We've been talking a lot about the connectivity layer, and we've been talking about some great examples of what we can do there and in multiple areas. If you go up the stack, then you start getting the edge and getting to MEC, and then you start enabling solutions like private networks, like we just heard about. You can start doing public MEC, you can start doing private MEC, which is sort of private networks plus. But then when you start applying it all the way out to different industries, to the B2B customers of all the telcos, that's when the magic really happens, right? That's when you get a traditional manufacturing site and you turn it into a smart manufacturing site when you've got obviously all the IoT taking place there. You even capable and able now to do some learning, some computer vision, some inference at the edge, things that we couldn't have even dreamt about 2 to 3 years ago. And is that convergence that I think is going to create more and more opportunities. And there's going to be things like, we talked about computer vision. There are some areas like soft switching. There's a lot of infrastructure out there around soft switching that needs to be modernized, and it can be modernized by visionary ISVs and using the cloud in a way. And this is a very good transition to a great story. And I think, Brian, there you are. Okay, so from Alianza, we're going to talk about what they've done working with Lumen to really modernize that soft switching space and what's enabling Lumen to go after. It's an area that traditionally hasn't been getting as much attention as 5G, but this is an area where I think there is a tremendous potential and a lot of low-hanging fruit for this industry, for operators, and for visionary ISVs like Alianza. Let's hear from them.
Hi, I'm Christopher Smith, and I lead the Platform Application Solutions team at Lumen. I own a number of portfolios that include security, SD-WAN, SASE, and UCC. Pretty much all of the portfolios that enterprises needed help with as the world transformed over the last couple of years. So we've seen a lot. The world has changed a lot from a work perspective. Almost overnight, where we work changed very dramatically. And if you don't know Lumen, we're a platform technology company. We run one of the biggest IP networks in the world. We have one of the largest voice and conferencing platforms anywhere. We're expert in a number of technologies like UCC and SD-WAN, and we have a large team of people that have security on their Lumen badge. So we had a lot of capabilities to lean on when the world sort of changed. We were very lucky. Most companies that weren't considered essential moved to a work from home model almost overnight. And some were more prepared than others. And at the end of the day, when everyone went home, what our customers needed to solve for was application experiences. How do we communicate with each other in a distributed work model? How can employees access business critical applications and data so that work continues? How can we secure these applications and data when, well, users are everywhere now? Do we have the right connectivity and the right network in place at the right places to ensure the right experiences? And how can we communicate with our vendors, our customers, and our partners? Are we prepared? It's about the application, and every company is becoming a technology company to survive, regardless of the industry. We've learned a lot over the past couple of years, and enterprise technology refresh is back on the table. But here's the thing, we aren't going back to the old norm. Hybrid work is the new norm for the foreseeable future. Where we work is not predictable, and knowledge workers are moving out of big cities to more affordable places to live because, well, they can be productive anywhere now. Knowledge workers prefer a hybrid work environment. They view the office as a destination for collaboration and prefer to be there when there's an event, and they want flexibility to work wherever there is a better answer for productivity. Where we work has changed. So what else has changed? It's about the application, and where we host applications, that's changed as well. Applications aren't centralized in public or private data centers anymore. Well, they're everywhere. What else? Many of the applications we use to host internally, well, they're now in the cloud, especially things like UC and communications applications. Many applications are increasingly latency sensitive. Legacy networks and technologies can't support this new hybrid work paradigm. And this won't slow down. So users are everywhere and applications are everywhere. That is the new norm. I'm going to pass you over to my friend Brian, who's going to take you through how Lumen and Allianza are partnering to leverage this cloud-first strategy to help our customers work in this new hybrid world.
Good morning, Reinvent. I'm Brian Butler, founder and CEO of Allianza. I'm excited to follow my friend Chris Smith and share a bit more about how Allianza and AWS are working together to support Lumen's cloud-first strategy. I believe that the work that we are doing is ushering in the most significant transformation to the communications network that we have seen since the rise of voice over IP and the soft switch over 20 years ago. In its day, the soft switch represented a massive leap forward for service providers and the value that they could deliver to their customers. For the first time ever, service providers could deploy new communications products, features, and functionality through a software release rather than an upgrade to their physical network infrastructure. But despite the advantages that these advancements brought to service providers, there was also a dark side. With the proliferation of VoIP, anyone skilled in SIP products and web programming could develop communications applications that rode over the top of service providers' networks. And as a result, competition exploded virtually overnight. Many of these competitors developed proprietary applications, and they could continuously deliver new features, functionalities, and customer experiences at a speed that could not be matched by service providers and their soft switches. As a result, service providers have fallen behind the innovation curve. As Chris explained, the world has changed, and service providers need to change along with it. They need to innovate faster, simplify operations, and decrease costs in order to deliver the experiences their customers want. Simply put, they need to deliver communications from the cloud in order to power their cloud communication services. Together, Allianza and AWS are helping service providers navigate this transformation. Allianza has leveraged AWS's compute, database, storage, and SDKs to build a modern, agile, and extensible communications cloud exclusively for service providers. Together, we are enabling market leaders like Lumen to cloudify their entire communications core, both legacy products and their collaboration, mobile, and anywhere solutions that have exploded over the last few years. In addition, our cloud-native architecture means that our customers can trust us to continually innovate on their behalf and help them deliver the next generation of amazing experiences to their customers. Truly, the end of the soft switch era is here, and the cloudification of the communications network is next. Thank you.
Thanks, Grace and Brian. Thank you. That's an area that normally doesn't get all the attention it deserves, but as I said, this is an area where I think there is a lot of low-hanging fruit. There's a lot of potential to very quickly innovate. Another area that I want to transition into sort of the revenue-generating space is the marketplace. Again, if you've been dealing with AWS from a more traditional IT side of the last few years, you will have seen the increasing focus of the marketplace. What's so special about the marketplace? Well, what the marketplace does, the AWS marketplace does, it brings a whole ecosystem of ISV solution providers of all sorts, sizes, small developers, some of the world's largest software companies, and they are there on the marketplace. And as you are working on the AWS infrastructure, you got access to very easy integration and access, and an integrated experience to access these solutions. This has traditionally been a space that was only or mostly for the enterprise side. Over the last couple of years, we've been working with ISVs and with telcos to start provisioning some of the solutions that are relevant to telcos, and also some of the solutions that some telcos are providing to enterprises. And increasingly, we will see a new area coming, which is solutions that telcos are offering for telcos. So you're going to get the benefit of having an inventory, having access to a lot of telecommunication-related offerings to people who need these telecommunication services. Some of them are already available. Federated Wireless is already on the marketplace. You can already connect and access some of your private network requirements. And AT&T is already on the marketplace with their IoT solutions. We will be seeing an emergence of more telecommunication companies putting out there a page, an area, an offering for both enterprises and other telecommunications companies. And it's just going to make it so much easier for people to access, first find, which is not always trivial, then access, then deploy, and then have a much better integrated finding through billing experience. So watch out this space. We believe it's going to be a big growth area. Last but not least is sustainability. That's definitely an area, as you saw from Adam, it's an area where we are spending a significant amount of time and money to see how we can differentiate ourselves. The telecommunication industry is one of the most pollutant industries out there. Just have to point out to some of the data that Ethno and other analysts have released. And that's definitely something that as an industry we have a moral obligation to address before we have a legal and a regulatory obligation to address. And there is a lot of things that we can do. Right? I'm certainly very proud of everything that we're doing as the world's largest buyer of sustainable energy, a company that is already powering 85% of our operations of sustainable energy on a path to 100% by 2025. You saw or heard Adam talk about the water pledge. Right? It's not all about energy, it's energy and water. Can we become net water positive by the end of the decade? What are we doing to alleviate the power consumption of data centers? There is a study out there by 451 Research that proves that in North America it's 3.5 times more effective to run a workload on AWS than it is on your on-site data center. That factor goes all the way to 5 in Europe, given the challenges in Europe. And then we're also building in some of our capabilities an understanding of sustainability in things like our well-architected framework, something that we use to work with our customers to deploy solutions, to look at availability, look at security, and a number of other things. Sustainability is one of them. Or building out different tools like the AWS Carbon Footprint tool. That is a tool that allows customers to model, understand, and really do something about this carbon footprint that their work has on AWS. Sustainability will continue to be an area of focus and effort in everything that we do, obviously across AWS, but also in the telco area. So, you know about our Graviton3 processes and how much more energy efficient they are when you talk about generic workloads. We did a project with NEC and NTT Docomo in Japan. We actually ran the same workload on 2 different architectures. We wanted to see what a 5G core power consumption would look like, what would be the real benefit of using some of the energy efficient Graviton3 processes. And that was a sustainable 70% improvement in power consumption using the 5G core by NEC and using a real system that NTT Docomo is producing. So we will continue to innovate in these areas. We're also looking at how we can, over time, come and improve also the power consumption on the radio networks. So watch out this space. There's plenty for us to be doing here. So we covered a lot of ground, right? But I think you're really going to land a lot of these concepts if you walk out here and you go right and you go meet our guys out there. You're going to have a fantastic set of demonstrations. Some of them are telecoms. You'll see private network solution. You're going to see private networks in a box. You're going to see some AR, VR. You're going to see from a region all the way down to a ruggedized device. You're going to see that applies into the context of sport. You're going to be able to kick some penalties for those of you who are in football at the moment and just figure out how that sort of Bundesliga works. You're going to see automotive industry examples. They're all going to be out there. And it's definitely worth the time. And if you wanted to have a short directory of everything that is telco related in this reinvent, you have a whole myriad of resources available for you. You're going to be hearing from a number of my colleagues, a number of our partners, and a number of our customers. And again, I know I'm conscious a lot of you are watching this on replay. Note down the session numbers, look them up on the replay, and really take all of these ideas, concepts in and really hope that they turn into inspiration. Traditionally, I think we could agree that the telco industry hasn't been the most fascinating and innovative industry beside connectivity. I think if you look at some of the stuff, what we've been talking about, some of the sessions that are here, some of the demonstration out there, I think you can tell the telco industry is getting some live innovation and some real fan back into the ecosystem as it merges and converges with the cloud. So just wanted to say, there's a few more there around data lakes, and compute. And yeah, really hope you enjoy the experience out there. As I said, another commercial out the door, right to the CISA forum. It's all out there. And we'll be delighted, and I know my team is there waiting to show you all of that stuff, talk to you about it, and above all, hear about what you're trying to do, what problems you have, so that we can do what we do best, walk backwards from challenges, ideas, and opportunities that we can come up with. So thank you very much, and I hope you enjoy the rest of reInvent.